And with that, we're going to get started. And I just wanted to give a little introduction to our opening keynote speaker, Mike Michalowicz. He'll also be leading our workshop. I think a lot of you know that the way we design content here is we design content as though for a conference that we ourselves would want to attend. And I think that's what makes this a special experience. And of course, we started off as distributors almost 20 years ago. And here's an interesting story. So Mike Michalowicz, I first came across him in 2012. He had written a book called The Pumpkin Plan. I'd never heard of this guy before. I couldn't pronounce his last name. Seemed like a great guy and written this quirky book called The Pumpkin Plan. And at the time at Right Sleeve, we had been in market for 10 plus years, and we had literally thousands of accounts. Thousands of accounts, and we thought that we were nailing it. We thought, look how successful we are. Look at how many accounts we've got. We've brought them in from the web. We've brought them in from word of mouth. And soon enough, it became overwhelming to manage them. People were falling through the cracks. The wrong kind of clients were calling us and were asking for orders, and we were screwing up. And little did we know, we were losing the business from literally the best clients at the top because we were focusing, running around after all these accounts. So that was in 2012, and I read this book, and it was transformative for our business. And we sat down, and we really applied a lot of these principles to really focusing the accounts and getting rid of this bottom layer, and it's really espoused in the Pumpkin Plan. And I thought to myself, this is a guy we need to get to come to speak at a SkuCon or SkuCamp. Mike is heavily in demand. He speaks all over the world. Quite literally, I don't know why he agreed to come and speak at this crazy conference, but we got him. So I would like to offer a very, very warm welcome to Mike Michalowicz, all the way from New Jersey, to come and speak about the Pumpkin Plan. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a wonderful introduction until he made it uncomfortable and said I'm from New Jersey. So I love these boxes. I'd never seen this before, and I'm like, this is a great idea. I'm going to throw my phone in here. And I'm like, hold on 1 second. This is SkuCamp. This is your inventory. You're building inventory. Okay. That was I worked on that for a good 2 seconds. That was hysterical. It's interesting how certain words just change your life, put you on a brand new trajectory. And for me, it was 7 words. It was, you don't want to be that guy. Now, I'm from New Jersey, so it said like this, you don't want to be that guy. I was at a Chamber of Commerce event, doing business. I started my first company. I was in computer networks. I was the computer guy. My company had achieved its first $1 million in revenue, which the entrepreneur's definition of $1 million in revenue, I was doing about $300,000. And I went to this event to drum up some business. This was back in 1996. There was one fella sitting in the corner not talking to anybody. Everyone else was, talking niceties. So I approached this guy. I said, what do you do? He said, I'm a business coach. Now this was 1996. This is before business coaches even really existed. So I said, what does a business coach do? He goes, you wouldn't believe it. There's businesses out there that say they're doing millions of dollars in revenue and they're barely eking by at 300,000. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you really serious? He goes, yeah. I said, so what do you do? He goes, I fix those businesses and make it a reality. So I invited him in. His name was Frank Miniatolo. He came to my little business, my little computer company, and started to coach us through how to become a multi-million-dollar business. How I started actually is he sat myself down and my colleagues. There was 3 or 4 of us at the company. Sat down at a conference table that was actually smaller than the box in front of you. And we were sitting there, and he starts drilling us with questions. He goes, what's the P&L look like? I need to know your turnover and inventory. I need to know your balance sheet, cash flow. I need to know all this stuff. And I'm like, what are these magical words you're throwing at me? I've never heard of these terms. 3 hours of the Spanish Inquisition. Just finally, he says, I've had enough. Everyone, please stand up and leave the room. So everyone, including myself, gets up and starts to shuffle out of the room. And he points right at me and goes, not you, Michael. Sit down. Which, has anyone ever seen the movie The Godfather? Yeah. If you hear, Michael. So I sat down, and that's when he looked me in the eyes and said, Michael, you don't want to be that guy. I said, what guy? You don't want to be the guy who one day sits in a rusty lawn chair regretting his life of toil, hard work, with nothing to show for it. And there you sit with a half glass full of lemonade. And he goes, can you see yourself in that chair? I said, yeah, I think I can see it. He says, can you see your hair? And I remember sitting there going, it's all gone. He goes, not that hair, for God's sake, this hair. Oh, it gets worse. It gets worse. He goes, I want you to think about your future. And he got up and he started to walk out of the room. And he looks back and he says, as you think about what's going on with you, whatever you do, don't visualize what's going on down here. And he walks out the room. And I had the same reaction. Silence, shock. I said, this is what a business coach is? Or is it a sadist? Like, this was insane. I sat there for what felt like hours, sweat coming down. He walks back in the room and he goes, have you pictured your future, Michael? I said, yeah, it's horrible. He goes, you know what? I can fix all of that. Do you want to hire me? And I did. I hired him on the spot. What I'm going to teach you is what I learned from Frank. What helped me grow my businesses and had some successful stories to share with you, and some challenges too. But I will tell you this, what we're about to learn together is called the Pumpkin Plan, and if you don't find any value out of what I'm going to share, I did give you the greatest sales technique of all time. Go to any of your clients and just do this move. They buy anything. It's unbelievable. All right, let's get to it. So Frank sat me down, and the first thing he told me about was the trajectory of most businesses. Most of us are point A in our business. We're over here, and we want to go to point B, but we're trying to fix everything in our business. We can't manage the inventory. It's really difficult to sell. It's hard to find new clients. We're trying to fix things constantly. Maybe it's a better hire that will fix it. I need a rainmaker. We try to fix 95% of our business, yet we seem to be stuck and never moving forward to that great vision we had for our business. He said the correction isn't fixing everything. In fact, we almost have everything right. He said the solution is just fixing a few things. The analogy used is an airplane. I don't know if you've ever experienced this analogy, but say a plane is taking off from where I live, right outside New York City, and is going to San Francisco. If that plane is off course just by 5%, the further it travels, the further it'll get from its destination. You literally stay on this path to San Francisco and off by 5%. If it's to the north, you land in Canada. If it's to the south, you land in Mexico. Foreign land. Foreign land. I know there's a lot of Canadians in the audience. I consider that foreign land. But he said if you correct the course right now by 5%, you'll get exactly where you want to go. And he says, it's interesting, the solution to this is all around us. It's already out there. We just have to emulate what's already working. And he said, in fact, one of the best sources is pumpkin farmers. Pumpkin farmers. Frank, back in 1996, ultimately demanded that I study pumpkin farming. So that's what we're actually going to talk about today. I know, exciting. What a way to open. Amazing band and now pumpkin farming? We're going to talk about pumpkin farming, but not ordinary pumpkin farming. We're going to talk about colossal pumpkin farming. There is a faction of pumpkin farmers that grow these massive pumpkins. I know you've seen it. It's that huge pumpkin and that person with a big toothy smile leaning against it. As big as your car. That's what we're going to talk about. Because there's a small faction of pumpkin farmers who know how to change just a few things In fact, only 5% of the growing process, and it results in explosive, colossal growth. So let's get right into it. And I'm going to need this whiteboard, so I'm going to go grab one. But the first thing I want to talk about is the first step of growing colossal pumpkin, which is called seed selection. Now, if you are an ordinary pumpkin farmer, the process of growing pumpkins is by being in the quantity game. And in fact, right now is the most important part of the year. We're approaching the fall holidays. Halloween is around the corner. So you make 80% of your revenue this fall. The only way to do this successfully is by being in the quantity game. The more seeds you can plant over a larger field, the more quantity you can grow. In fact, we do this every year. We'll take our children, go pumpkin picking. Does anyone do that with your kids? Any pumpkin picker? Okay. So have you experienced this? Take my children to the fields, like, oh, I want this one. I remember my son selecting the most like twisted, gnarled, and deformed pumpkin ever. He's like, Daddy, this is a beautiful one. I want to put it on the front porch. And I'm like, that kind of looks like my mother-in-law. Okay. If you laughed, you have a mother-in-law. I'm kidding. She's wonderful. But most of those pumpkins in the field are actually left abandoned, rotten, stepped on, crushed, ignored. But they're in the quantity game. Even though the pumpkin farmer isn't selling most of their stuff, as long as they have a huge volume that's churning, they win in the cash flow game. The only way to do this, of course, is by doing things quickly and cheaply. So cheap seeds, cheap everything. Big quantity. The colossal farmers are actually in not the quantity game, but the quality game. In fact, the way they select their seeds is very particular. They will spend hours under a microscope investigating seeds because the right seed matching their climate, their soil content is very important. And you can literally grow colossal pumpkins in the most northern parts of Canada, the most southern parts of Mexico, and everywhere in between if you pick the right seed. So lesson number one is we need to be not in the quantity game, we need to be in the quality game. Now, there's a worksheet in front of you. I'll give you the answers. The first one, the answer is 5%. Thank you for signaling it to me. It's 5%, Mike. If you're listening to your own presentation, it's 5%. The second answer is the biggest limiter to growth in any business is quantity over quality of our clientele. So let's talk about the colossal seed for our businesses right now. I want to, and you can draw this in the back. Actually, we're going to do a workshop later around this. This is what's called a Venn diagram. I hope you can see in the back. It's 3 conjoining circles. And what I found is ordinary entrepreneurs are in the quantity game. They just want to gain more clients. They want to do the cheap, obvious, easy thing. But colossal entrepreneurs are in the quality game. And it's the intersection of these 3 things that generate a colossal seed. So, of course, what are these 3 things? The first element right here is uniqueness. Unique. What makes you different? What makes you unique? You know, most entrepreneurs are in the better game. Most entrepreneurs believe that better is better. Say I'm competing with you in my company. We answer the phone in 2 rings. Well, it's better to answer it in 1 ring. You win. But will the customers really notice? No. Customers don't notice better, they notice different. They notice unique. Colossal entrepreneurs know that better is not better, different is better. That's the answer, I think, to number 3. We need to aspire to be different. In fact, let me give you a case study. One of the most popular of all times, or at least recent times, is Apple Computers. Everyone knows that brand. And they did something where they embraced a uniqueness of the founders. They embraced something that I suggest is in every person in this room. I suspect when you were a child and you were in kindergarten and 1st grade, you didn't know the social norms. You behaved the way you wanted to behave. Your teacher, though, over time said, color inside the lines. Your friend said, don't dress like that, dress like us. And very quickly, because of social pressure, we start to achieve this norm. We don't express the true selves. I wore a Batman costume. I thought that would be cool to school, kindergarten, a couple days into school. Not such a popular thing to do. And I don't wear my Batman costume anymore. But when we're children, we don't know the social norms. And I suspect you had your own idiosyncrasies too. But over time, we have to comply. But some of us, the colossal entrepreneurs, embrace their idiosyncrasies. They elevate it. Well, Steve Jobs did this. Steve Jobs had something that when he was a child, his teachers disciplined him for this behavior. Can't do that. His friends made fun of him for this behavior, but he actually embraced it. Does anyone know what Steve Jobs was made fun of for doing as a child? Teachers disciplined him for? Anyone know? You're going to have to Google this one. Steve Jobs had a phobia of buttons. Phobia of buttons. Google that one. Steve Jobs' phobia of buttons. It'll blow your mind. Steve Jobs was afraid of buttons. You want to know why he wore a turtleneck all the time? Button-free. And look at his pants. They're like spandex things or something. They ain't button flies, I'll tell you that much. And here's the thing. The normal standard mentality is better is better. Colossal entrepreneurs know different is better. There was a time, there was a phone that was dominating the market called the BlackBerry. If you ever owned a BlackBerry, please raise your hand real quick. Okay. All right. Almost every hand went up. Okay, one person's like, I had 10 of, I guess that was I had 10 of them. The mentality, of course, when the BlackBerry is dominating the market, if you want to compete, you must be better, so the competitors come out and make more phones that are like the BlackBerry, but they do better, which means add more buttons. You know, the BlackBerry had 50, a full QWERTY keyboard, 60 buttons. Phone manufacturers say, you know what if we take the screen and you can slide it up, and behind there is a keyboard, an even bigger one, right? Steve Jobs went to his team and said the biggest opportunity in technology for the foreseeable future is smart technology, smartphones. We're going to be in the smartphone industry. He went to his engineers and said, can you make me a smartphone? His engineers in the better mentality said, sure, Steve, we'll make one. The BlackBerry's got 60, 70 buttons. Let's show Steve one with 90 buttons. And they went to Steve and said, hey, Steve, what do you think? Check this out. You didn't even flinch. What are you, a karate master? Wow. I thought you were going to punch me back in the face. Steve, what do you think? And Steve, it was like probably a scene out of the Matrix. His fear of buttons was right in front of him. 70 buttons come. He's like, ooh. I saw no one doing this at yoga this morning. You can tell what day we're in an event with the yoga exercises. The first day, I saw you guys. I was that weirdo looking in the window. Up top. How many men are at the yoga, right? So the first day, all the guys show up. Sure, I'll do this. I can do downward dog, right? By tomorrow, it'll be half the guys. If you do this the third day, all the guys are out. It's always the same. Steve Jobs has these buttons coming toward him. His fear of buttons, he goes, for God's sake, if there's anything we're going to do, we're going to make a buttonless phone. His idiosyncrasy, his uniqueness, his fear of buttons, he expressed it in Apple's designs. As a result, Apple was the first vendor to blend technology with art. They took away the buttons. I have an old iPhone. I think it's the iPhone 1, actually. But you can see it, you can't even see it back there. There's a button embedded in there. You remember that? And even today, they have no buttons. The funny thing is, this is not their best demonstrative of a button-free environment. If you own a Mac computer, does anyone here own a Mac computer? How many buttons on the mouse? None. Makes no sense. No buttons on a mouse. Microsoft has taught us, it's got to have a glove. Like, if you want to compete, you got to put a foot pump on that thing. Like, that is a good mouse. But Steve Jobs uses uniqueness. My challenge to you today is what makes you not better than your competition, what makes you different than the competition? What can you do that really, really is different? But there's a second component to this model, and it's called top clients. Be super careful here. You got to be unique, but there has to be clients that want to consume it, of course. I mean, you could start your manufacturing business or distributing business, and every time you do a delivery, you can wear a Bozo the Clown costume, waka waka. How many people will notice that's unique, but who wants to buy it? There's a famous author, his name's Oscar Wilde. He has a great saying. I actually have it at my office above my desk now. He said, when it came to uniqueness, be yourself, because everyone else is already taken. That's what uniqueness is. But he had a second story. I don't know if you know who Oscar Wilde is. He wrote this book called Dorian Gray, became a multimillionaire in Ireland, at least equivalent to a multimillionaire, but ended up becoming destitute, passed away in jail, because he had the propensity to expose himself. Yeah, which first of all, I don't know if that's the right technique of exposing yourself. Just assuming it is. But here's the lesson. Here's the lesson. No one wanted to consume that. You need to have clients that want to buy what you're offering. So just because you like to do it doesn't mean other people want it. So, who are the top clients that resonated with it? If we go back to the Steve Jobs case, the example of Apple, Apple goes buttonless. They blend technology with art. They say, who wants technology and art? And they say, oh, marketing firms. Remember all the design firms were picking it up? They were the early adopters of Apple technology. So find the community it resonates with. And the third and last part is systems. Okay, systems is this. Your business needs to deliver this on automatic. Just so we're clear, if you can attract prospects, convert them to clients, have them raving about your experience, consuming your offering, maybe even telling other people, you got to work with these guys, all while you're sleeping. That's the key. If all that from prospect to delivery can happen while you're sleeping, you've achieved systemization. Otherwise, if you have to do the work, you can't scale because it's on your back. In fact, some businesses in this room probably have a couple of these elements taken care of, but I challenge you to see if you actually have all three. One common thing is I've seen businesses in here that are truly unique. They have top clients that want what they offer, but they're not systematized. And they go into the TFM trap, if you can see that in the back. Stands for time for money. The only way to scale a business that's doing these two things is for you to work harder. Hustle, grind, push harder. I'm not a big fan of those terms because that means you have to do it. Time for money. Now, other people in this room may have top clients. They may have the deliverable automated, but it's not unique. There's another trap here. It's called DPP, or downward price pressure. If your offering is the same as everyone else's, there's no distinguishing uniqueness thing about it. Clients will then see you as a commodity and seek out alternatives which are cheaper, which forces you to become cheaper, which forces them to become cheaper, and it's a fight to the bottom, downward price pressure. Now, there's maybe a person or two in this room that has something that's really unique. They can deliver it on automatic, but there's not a single customer who wants to buy it. There's a term for that. It's called you're screwed. So that's called screwed. I hope no one's in that position. To have a colossal business, we need to master all three of these elements. That's the first step of growing a colossal pumpkin. It's the seed to colossal growth. And let me just look at our worksheet here and see, did we answer any of the questions on there? Okay, we answered number 3, and thank you for helping me out. A ordinary entrepreneur believes better is better. A colossal entrepreneur knows different is better. We also answered number 4, colossal growth comes from delivering a unique offering to your top clients and systematizing the entire process. Okay. Second step to growing a colossal pumpkin. It's called sprout analysis. Now let's go back to those pumpkin farmers. All the ordinary pumpkin farmers out there at the beginning of the summer, they start planting their seeds. They put them over this massive field. They're in the quantity game. And what do? They start reviewing the sprouts that are coming up. And their job is to find the weak sprouts, because if a sprout is weak, it needs help growing. So they'll loosen the soil around it. They'll give it some extra water. Colossal entrepreneurs, interestingly, though, don't focus on the weak. When I was watching these farmers, they focus on the strongest sprouts. They look for a sprout that's coming out of the ground. If it's strong and the biggest, they'll loosen the soil around that one and give that one more water. The weak sprouts are ignored or even pulled and thrown away. The lesson is this. The ordinary entrepreneur focuses on improving the weaknesses. Colossal entrepreneurs concentrate on the strengths. Ordinary entrepreneurs, who's the weakest salesperson at my office? I'll take my best salesperson, have them stop selling while they train up my weakest salesperson to get them up to speed. What's my own personal weakness? I suck at accounting. I'm going to go to accounting class and get better at that. Or who's my weakest customer? That one that's a real a-hole. That one, I, as the owner, no one else will have to deal with this jerk. I'll take care of them. We'll get them back on track. Colossal entrepreneurs, on the other hand, focus on the strong. They say, who's my strongest salesperson? I'm going to protect her, defend her, and just let her sell. No more administrative work. Don't worry about it. Sell, baby, sell. What's my strength? Am I really good at this? Am I really good at the sales? Or am I really good at the marketing? Am I really good at the systems? I'm going to focus on that. And what's the strongest customer I have? So that's the one I'm going to cater to. You see, colossal entrepreneurs know that weaknesses can be improved, but only by inches. Strengths can be amplified by miles. The opportunity is in our strengths. Now, one thing you can do, literally starting today, that will have an impact on your business by tonight, if you follow along and do this, is evaluating our customer base. It's interesting how many businesses focus actually on the squeaky wheels. You ever notice how many cruddy customers you have? It's like, wow, I got quite a few. I bet you right now, if I ask you, think of your best customer, you can think of them like that. If I say think of your worst customer, you probably can think of 10 of them, right? Many businesses attract many bad customers. Why is it? Because if we focus on the bad customers, we could attract more of them. Can you imagine that conversation? That one customer you have that says, I need a big order, send 20 pallets of XYZ. They get it and they say, half of it came damaged or there wasn't the right color. We're not going to pay you. Make this correct. Resend again. You send it again. They say, you know what, just as punishment to you, we're not going to pay you anything. But we're going to keep buying from you and you should consider yourself lucky. Right? Yeah, you have that customer, clearly. That customer we cater to with, oh my God, we think about them through the night. Like, what can we do just to finally care for this customer and get rid of them? Just make them happy one time. They are going to their friends saying, you wouldn't believe it. There's this distributor out there that you can order unlimited stuff. If you just keep on whining and complaining, they give it to you for free. You got to work with these guys. The bad customers are telling bad customers. Birds of a feather flock together. Our great customers, they don't get great service. They get good service, but they don't get anything special. But colossal entrepreneurs know the best customers need to be catered to, and therefore they can be cloned. Now, here's the process of how you do it. Take your clients and sort them by revenue. And so we're going to make a little chart here. We'll do this in our workshop together a little bit too. But client, revenue, and this other thing we're going to call the CC. I'm going to explain in a second. Now, why do I want you to sort your clients out by revenue, most revenue to least revenue? Because clients demonstrate their appreciation to us by how much they spend. In fact, I have a saying, people don't speak the truth through their words, people speak the truth through their wallets. We all know that we don't speak truth through our words because it's usually socially inappropriate to. I heard it today. I was walking through, you guys were having breakfast together. Hey, haven't seen you in a year. How are you? I'm great. How are you? Fantastic. Great. Wonderful. Perfect. Fantastic. Bullshit! Really? Today is the perfect day for all of us? No. Someone in this room, maybe many of us, are going through misery right now. But we know the game. You don't announce. You don't say, oh my God, my life is horrible. You want some more eggs? Let's talk about it. No, we hold it in, and our clients do too. If we go to our clients and say, how's your experience with our company? They'll say, it's good, solid, great. And then they never do business with us again. We can't trust our clients' words. They don't. Last time you did a survey with 1,000 things, was your survey like this? You're like, all right, first, let me think about it. Yeah, second, and then just get me through this thing, just answering anything? That's untruthful, but that's the reality. The truth is demonstrated through our actions. Every time we open our wallet and spend money. So, when clients spend money with you, the people who are spending more are demonstrating through their actions that they love you. Just to drive this point home, the importance of speaking the truth or not. I was in Copenhagen, this is about 3 years ago, delivering a keynote on this exact same concept. I was talking about the colossal seed, and I was working with mid-cap corporations. These are companies that do $500 million to $1 billion in revenue. And there was 1,000 people in the room. It was a massive conference. It was it was meticulous. It was meticulous. I don't know if you've traveled to any conferences in Europe. I don't know if you've ever seen a European presenter. Typically, perfect. They dress perfectly. They present perfectly. They have PowerPoints that are perfect. It's amazing. This event was a 3-day conference, 15 speakers. The closing keynote is Yucko the Clown here from America. Only person from America. And I don't know if you know this, but when you get engaged to speak, you have what's called a rider. A rider is simply a form that says, if you are going to play music at the event, play Jukebox Hero for Mike. And if you have this, do that. Make sure there's water available or something. So I'm about to go speak. There's been no music this entire conference. Everyone just so meticulous and perfect. They're closing out the event. The host comes up and says, we'd like to welcome traveling all the way from New Jersey to Copenhagen, the speaker, Mike Michalowicz, and I'm way in the back. All of a sudden, I didn't know they had a speaker system at the event. All of a sudden, you hear the crackle as it goes, they turn it up. And then, there was no music the entire event until now. They put on Jukebox Hero. And if you know the song Jukebox Hero by Foreigner, it starts off with this bass lick that goes like this. Dum, dum, boom! Right? And everyone's like, ah! Including myself. And when that happens, your mind goes, what should I do? And I'm like, channel Anthony Robbins. Anthony Robbins would clearly run onto stage. So I come running up, I'm like, hello, Copenhagen! Silence, right? Perspiration starts, and I'm like, what would Anthony Robbins do? Oh, he would do one of these moves. I can't hear you, Copenhagen! Thank you, because that's how they responded, silence. It gets worse. I start presenting, they have 2 hours, and I'm going, and you can see I start getting energized, hyper, spotlights on me, sweat coming down. I am drawing this colossal seed. I'm like, do you understand this? Now, you may have noticed, if you're paying close attention, I now always put the cap back on my markers. I'm very careful with markers because I had the cap off, and I'm drawing this. I'm like, do you understand how it's important that we need to be unique? And I sit like this, and for a second, the sweat starts dripping down. And I'm breathing, and I go, do you understand this? I drew the most massive unibrow on the planet on my head. And no one said anything. Total silence. But everyone had to start taking notes. Because all of a sudden, this unibrow is here, people start going, ooh. And like people are like this, and one woman between her fingers, and then she does like, those dry heaves. She's like, oh. No one said a word for 2 hours. But no one would look at me. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they love me. They really love me. The notes taking, they're getting so much out of this. Until the very end, someone came up after the event and said, in English, unibrow. And the horror that I underwent. The lesson is this: I don't care if you're from the US, from Europe, or anywhere on this planet, we don't speak the truth because it's not socially appropriate. We lie. But we always speak the truth through our actions. Therefore, sort your clients out by revenue. And I did this for my company, and I sorted it out. I had a computer company, and I found, this was a bank I was working with, and they were doing $70,000 in annual revenue, which for a service company like mine was a big deal. I had one here was a hedge fund. They were doing $50,000 and blah, 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 blah. And this was like $20,000. I had tons of them doing like, $5,000, $100,000. Okay. Once you do that, the next evaluation we need to do, the CC, doesn't stand for credit card, stands for crush or cringe. It's a real simple analysis, and this is how it works. When you look at one of these clients, do you have a crush on them or cringe? It's real simple. When the phone rings and the caller ID pops up, are you like, oh my God, I love you? Yeah. Oh, you heard me say that? I'm sorry. Yep, I do. I do kind of love you. Yes, I'll take your order right now. Right? Or is it the cringe? We're like, oh my God, I hate you. Oh my God, I'm just going to put this into voicemail. I answer the phone. No, what? Oh no, I'm sorry. Did you hear me say that? No, I love doing business with you. Then a friend of mine I met in Mexico told me the coolest technique that I want to give to all of you. He says when you're talking to one of those cringe customers, if you have an iPhone or smartphone, you can pull it far enough away from your ear that it'll light up again. When it does, he says, start tapping the mute button on and off while you're talking. So it sounds like you're disconnecting. Oh, I'm sorry, I think we have a connection. Hang up. That's a cringe. Yeah. Do you have customers like that? You can't stand? Now you have a technique all the way from Mexico. Next time you talk to someone in Mexico, it says when they have a bad connection, they actually hate you. Okay. Then what we do is simply put a smiley face or a frowny face in front of the ones that you love or dislike. Because ultimately, it's the customers who pay us the most and we love the most are the ones we want to clone. I did this for my business. I identified this customer here, which was a hedge fund, was my best customer. Once you identify who your best customers are, to clone them, we follow a very simple process. Interview them, meet with them, take them out for lunch, because we want to clone them. And I'm going to share 3 questions with you that are game changers. I identified this hedge fund was my best client. I gave them a call. All right, put my water here. I gave them a call and said, hey, Larry, I love doing business with you. I'd love to take you out to lunch. Get face-to-face time with your best customers. I don't care where in the world they are. I met with Larry, and I sit him down, and I asked him ultimately 3 questions. Here's what they are, and this is one of the numbers in there. It's number 7 we're about to answer. Oh, by the way, number 6, if we didn't fill that in yet, people speak the truth through their wallets, not their words. I sat Larry down for lunch. I said, Larry, I love doing business with you. I got to ask you something. What am I doing right? That's the first question to ask your best customers. Now, here's the power of this question. It's a Jedi mind trick. Because when you ask your best customers, what are you doing right, they will not tell you what you're doing right, ever. They'll tell you something different. I sat down with Larry and said, Larry, you've been doing business with my little computer company for a while. What am I doing right? He says, the fact that you respond so quickly, you have a computer technician on site, usually within a couple hours. The last computer company, it would take them sometimes a full day. And we're a brokerage, a hedge fund. We trade. We have backup systems when our computers fail us, but we need to get these back online quickly. You respond quickly. Now, here's the Jedi mind trick. He was not telling me what I was doing right. He was telling me what he judges me by. That's the key. When you ask your best customers, what am I doing right, they will tell you how they judge you. And once you know how they judge you, you can have an extraordinary impact on servicing them well. A small 5% correction. Larry said, Mike, you get on site within a couple hours, you respond quickly. I knew that day forward, I had to respond quicker than ever because that was a judgment. It was real simple. I dispatched my technicians, which was usually myself, I was a very small company at the time, to be within a 15-mile radius of Larry at secondary customers. But when Larry's company called, I would tell my existing customer, we have an absolute emergency, we'll be back. We'd go to Larry and take care of him. We're getting on site on average now in under a half hour. And Larry, blown away. But he told me how to blow him away. You can do the exact same thing. What am I doing right? Second question, don't write this one down yet though, because I know you want to. What am I doing wrong? But don't write that down. Because if you write down what am I doing wrong, remember, customers lie to you. If you ask your customer what am I doing wrong, they won't say a word to you, unibrow. Instead, here's the question, 2 write down. What is wrong with my industry? You see, if we talk about someone that's not in the room, we'll get a much different response. And this event, I say, how did you like my speech? Oh, Mike, it was good, it was fun, you're funny, you're high energy. I leave the room, you're like, that guy's annoying, clearly from New Jersey, right? You will speak the truth amongst each other, but not to my face. Our clients will speak the truth not about us, but the person not in the room. So if you ask your client what's wrong with my industry, they can open that can of worms. Larry said, you know what, I've worked with other computer companies, their billing practices, like you would bill so much money to fix a Palm Pilot. Does anyone remember the Palm Pilot? Okay, you're over 40. The Palm Pilot, right? So the Palm Pilots used to sell for $250. If you don't know what a Palm Pilot was, it was the first smartphone, which was neither smart nor a phone. But it was the first attempt at it, and they would sell for $250. This old computer company would charge $500 to repair it. He said, why don't you just, instead of repairing it, get me a brand new Palm Pilot. So I write a note, never again charge $500 for Palm Pilots, there's got to be a better way. Ask your best customer what's wrong with the industry, and that's the thing you need to fix. Third and final question is, what other vendors do you depend on? So I asked Larry, what other vendors do you depend on? And he starts rattling it off. It's such a powerful question. It's so important you write this down. I will save the explanation of why that works, but you have to do it. Okay, I'll save an explanation for that in just a little bit. Third step to growing Colossal Pumpkin is called frequency. I don't know if you know this about pumpkin farmers, but ordinary pumpkin farmers use a technique called saturation. If you flew in yesterday and you watched down on the ground as you're flying over the country and you see those big circular patterns, those are what's called saturation systems. They put a pipe in the middle, they have a long pipe that goes out and it goes around the field and it drops water on all those plants. So you can grow a large quantity of plants. Chances are you've never or very rarely seen one running. They don't run during daylight, they run at night. There's too much evaporative effect during the day. Colossal pumpkin farmers, interestingly, don't use saturation systems. They use quenching systems. They go to the strongest sprouts and they give it just the optimal amount of water throughout the day. They leave and they come back, watering a plant sometimes 15 times a day. But by doing this, the colossal pumpkin starts growing about 10 times faster than an ordinary pumpkin. In business, most businesses are in the saturation process. And the problem with saturation is you're hitting so hard, so fast, you actually have a lot of loss. You kill the little plants. They get killed under the water, or they drown because the roots get saturated and start to rot away. Now, in business, how this plays out, the saturation technique, I know you've seen this, is, well, it used to be you go into a networking event or something like that, and there's people in the room, everyone's talking, you have your coffee and your donut, and you're chit-chatting away, and all of a sudden the door comes swinging open, smoke rolls out, and some guy walks in, and it looks like he's got 2 6-shooters at his side, but they're not 6-shooters, they're his cards, his business cards. And he'd come in and say, hey, haven't seen you before. How you doing? We should do business together, and we should do business, and business. Starts handing out all the cards as fast as he can. You're sitting there. You have, thank God, that coffee and donut because your hands are now full. He looks you up and down. You're sitting there. Can't get me, pal. Can't get me. He takes that card and jams it into your mouth. And you're like, I've been hit. That guy goes back to his office in the olden days and would sit there and say, why is no one calling me? I was networking. I was spreading the word. No one's calling me. Why? Because they're killing the roots of relationships. The other approach, which is subtly different but remarkably more impactful, is called quenching. And quenching is this. Quenching is where you go to a community and you appear not to sell, but to educate or entertain or simply serve. It's a constant presence. Coca-Cola does this to all of us. Did anyone see the last Olympics? Okay, no one. So, okay, so here's the deal. It's this collection of amazing athletes from throughout the world. You have to see this. All right. They come together and they go to commercial break, right? Because all the athletes do their thing. Usain Bolt wins another gold. Michael Phelps wins a gold. They go to commercial break, and there you see that perfect bottle of Coke. That perfect, sweat on the side, the bee dripping down. A polar bear hand reaches up and starts drinking it. And Coke knows none of us are sitting there going, oh my God, I am watching the Olympics without a Coca-Cola. Who am I? I need to buy it. Or they don't think, oh my God, I'm watching the Olympics without a polar bear. I need to buy one. No, of course not. All they care is that we're entertained by that red logo, because the next time you're in the market for a soda, we have the propensity to buy the Coke over the generic brand. And the irony is we know it's the same stuff. It's carbonated water, caramel coloring, and lots and lots and lots of sugar. And we know it's exactly the same, but we'll pay more for the Coke because we've seen it more. And how behavioral psychology runs is like, it even tastes better. I think there's hints of ginger or something, right? We'll pay more for it, even though it's the same. And if you don't believe me, do a blind taste test. Ask them to serve some Coke and some other generic soda. Blend them, mix all together, and see which one's which. 98% of the world population can't distinguish it. But frequency, appearing frequently in front of your clients, does. By the way, the new modern version is no longer, we don't do the networking anymore. You don't have to worry about that. Now it's remarketing. I don't know if you experienced this. My daughter just became of driving age recently. I was looking at cars, which was safe, have a good reliability. We bought a used car, but I wanted to look at the new ones first. I found the Toyota Corolla has a great reputation, and I'll never forget going on Toyota's website and looking at a green Toyota Corolla. Because now, for the next year, it's been a year, every single site I go to, that freaking green Toyota Goblin is there. I hate Toyota. Now, remarketing is the new version. We need to quench. Find where your community is and simply appear there and educate. For my client, the hedge fund, I said, where do hedge funds go? Larry told me, he says, you know what, where we congregate is we have a major hedge fund conference in Long Beach, California. I started to go there. We have another one in Greenwich, Connecticut. 2 conferences. I was the only computer vendor that would ever show. And I would just walk the floor. I just meet people. I'm a computer guy when people would ask me what I do. You're a computer guy for who? For hedge funds. Oh my gosh, we should do business together. And I know you won't be surprised, very quickly over time, I started to get a lot of hedge fund clients. Who is your best customer and where do they congregate? Appear there frequently. Frequency brings about trust. The more frequently they experience you, the more they trust you. You don't have to be a sophisticated salesperson. You don't need amazing marketing. You just need to appear frequently. In fact, I found this to be extremely true. My second company, I sold my first company to private equity, my computer company. My second company was in computer crime investigation. If you're familiar, I'm sure everyone here is familiar with the Enron trial. We were one of the lead investigators of the Enron trial. We're now out of what they call the squelch period. I can share some of the facts about the trial. A lot of people ask me, Mike, you did the investigation. Were they guilty? Yes, very guilty. And we were on the defense side, so extremely guilty. I sold that company to a Fortune 500. Has anyone ever sold a business here? Anyone sell a company? Okay, so the hands that went up, you can speak to this. When you sell a company, you go through what's called the dance. There's different suitors that want to acquire you. Finally, the best opportunity comes from Robert Half International, a Fortune 500. They have offices in New York City. They acquire a business, and on acquisition day, they line me up in a conference room that was a little bit bigger than this. And there was a table all the way from that side to this side. All the way over here, let me just run over there real quick, was the managing partner. His name was John Turpak. He was sitting here, and between were all of the suits. People had flown in for the meeting. We were so far apart, I was on that end, that John was pushing down the button and talking into it so I could hear him. He had those little microphones that come up that you see at airports. He'd push up and say, okay, Mike, I just spoke with the legal department. I want to congratulate you. You are now part of Robert Half International. And the suits go, like seals. I'm all the way on that side. Excuse me, I gotta just get around right here. This is awkward for both of us. I know. Okay, and then I'm all the way on this side. I'm all the way here. Now, what I'm about to tell you, please do not do this. This is not a business tip. He says, Mike, I want to congratulate you. You're now part of Robert Half International. I push down my button and grab the microphone and say, excuse me, John, would you pass the Grey Poupon? Thank you for laughing, because no one else did. I go back right here. No one else laughed. One of the suits says, John, this guy's a genius. More mustard at our meetings. Oh, yeah, exactly, yeah. So you can see where this acquisition went. After you get acquired, a big check comes across the table. I get escorted to my new office, Avenue of Americas. If you don't know where that is, the famous Rockefeller Christmas tree is out there. I call my wife. I say, greatest day of my professional career has this happened. Yes, I do have the money. Then I said, the first time in my life I'm an employee for a business, I said, I think I got to put my best foot forward, and I think I'm going to work a little bit late tonight. Well, it's like 5 o'clock. There's still people there. I'm clicking, clacking away. 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. I'm like, when are these people leaving? 8 o'clock. I'm like, how much Tetris can I play? Also not a tip. 9 o'clock, finally the place evacuates. They leave. So I said, okay, I'm time to go home. I walk to the elevator. I walk in. The elevator opens up, and in there is the scariest human being on the planet. Do you know Freddy Krueger? Right? Freddy Krueger's a sissy compared to this guy. This guy's sitting in a building, this was in 2003, smoking a cigarette. First of all, if you smoke a cigarette like this, watch out. He smokes a cigarette in the elevator, looks at me, blows smoke in my face, and then throws the cigarette at my foot and says, are you going to get in? By the way, the only voice impersonation I do is always The Godfather. It's the only one I can do. I know. He throws it down. Now, maybe only a few people have sold a business. Have you ever been in a professional environment where you're about to get murdered? Because here's what happens. Your brain literally splits in half. There's two different thoughts going on. This side, as that guy throws a cigarette down at me, it says, for God's sake, Mike, walk in there like a professional, right? The other side of my brain, at a slightly higher voice, says, for God's sake, Mike, run away. You only have one life. And it's interesting, when your brain gives two different commands, your body follows two commands. So this foot wanted to go forward, and this foot wanted to go back. So when he said, are you going to get in? I did this. And I crawled my way into the elevator, just like this. I pinned myself into the corner of it, and we went down, and I don't know if you figured this out. He didn't kill me. I'm here. Nothing happened. Next day, Kruger's in there again. Go down, didn't die. Over the month, I saw him like 6 or 7 times. By the last time I saw him, I had a pack of smokes waiting for him. I'm like, hey, smoke up, Freddie. Here's the deal. He could be a murderer. I suspect he is. But the more frequently I saw him, the more I trusted him. The lesson to our business is this. I don't care how good or bad your marketing is. All I care is that you appear. No one is as scary as Freddie. Just appear in front of your best community. You don't have to be super prepared and super smooth. You don't need to know your 2-second elevator pitch. Just appear. And just be there again and again and again. And you will win gobs of business. Okay. Fourth stage to growing Colossal Pumpkin. Oh, let's make sure we filled out this worksheet together, right? So we answered number 7. Number 8 is prospects will trust you more the more frequently you are in front of them. You must find your best customers and prospects and congregate, where they congregate and appear there. Okay. Technique number 4. I suspect everyone in this room has been told to ask for referrals. I'm going to share a slightly different technique that I learned from pumpkin farmers. You know, the ordinary pumpkin farmer is in the kind of plays a surface level game. They look for signs of blight and disease when they look at their pumpkins, rotting leaves, stuff like that. And when they see it, is this mine or yours? I guess this is mine. Mike M, so don't touch that. I put my name on there. That's right. Don't get your filthy hands off of it. So the ordinary pumpkin farmers are in the surface level game. You see blight, you throw down some chemicals or whatever, because you're in the quantity game. You just got to go to grow. Colossal entrepreneurs are in the quality game. And in fact, they determined the best way for a colossal pumpkin to grow is by protecting the root system. Some of you can't even see, it's underground. They actually have these glasses that they can use to look underground. The same thing firefighters use to look through walls, they use to look underground to see the health of the root system. It needs to be that protected from gophers and disease. And I can tell from the energy in this room already, like most of you are like, why am I distributing inventory when I can be a colossal pumpkin farmer? I get it. Most of us want to become colossal pumpkin farmers now. I know it's been that convincing. So here's the tip for you. First of all, we don't go by colossal pumpkin farmers. We prefer to go by lords of the gourds. Thank you. We're not nerds. The second thing is when you do join us in growing colossal pumpkins, and yes, I've given an attempt at this now myself, my own garden. If you do go and visit some of those goggles, just be super careful because they can see through your clothing. And they like to play a joke. I was there. There's like 3 or 4 men and women. They're all with their glasses doing their thing, and I'm just sitting like really engrossed in what they're doing. And all of a sudden, they all look up at me at the same time. They all go, ooh, and they go back down. Yeah. Okay, if you laughed, you were sick. You were sick. If you didn't laugh, you're even sicker. So, the root system is what matters. In our business, most businesses are at the surface level. Ask for a referral. And the classic strategy is this, a very surface level move, is once you have a client that has a good experience, ask for a referral. How's your experience with us? Great. Remember, unibrow, never forget it. Lie, it's constantly there because it's socially appropriate. Once I hear the trigger word great, though, I say, that's fantastic. Hey, would you happen to have any other acquaintances, colleagues, or maybe even family that would want to do business with us? And they sit there and sheepishly write down a number that starts with 555, right? And they give it to us. We usually get a bad referral. But if you think from the client's perspective, asking for a referral is kind of dangerous. First of all, it causes dilution. Meaning, if I ask you for a referral to someone else, I don't have as much time to pay attention to you. I'm going to pay attention over here. The second thing is it's kind of offensive. I just took your money and said, oh, thanks for this check. I need your family too. So referrals, while they can be effective, Rarely seem to be. There's a much better system I learned from Colossal Farmers, the root system. Remember I told you to write down that question, what other vendors do you depend on? This is where it comes into play. When you ask your best customers what other vendors do you depend on, your customers will say, what? Why do you want to know that? And then you say to them, you know, Larry, that was the name of the hedge fund owner, Larry, if I know the other vendors you're working with right now, not competitors, but other people, I can collaborate with them and serve you better. If I know the guy who installs your lights and security systems, maybe there's a way to connect it to your technology. Maybe when I'm installing stuff, I'm interfering with what they're doing. Larry was blown away, and your customers will be too. When you ask your best customers about their vendor network and how you can collectively work together and better serve the customer. It's not dilution, now it's focus. Larry wrote down every vendor. He's like, oh my gosh, you can call so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so. See if there's an opportunity for you guys to team up, serve me better. So I did. I called one company made trading desks, similar to the desks in front of you, except if there was computers on those desks, they'd be embedded into the desk. A trading desk has what's called linear line of sight. The monitor, the keyboard, and the mouse, you can see it all simultaneously, so you can do faster trades. Larry introduced me to the trading company. The trading desk company. I called him up, said, I'm the computer guy. I work with Larry. He said, Larry's great. You'll find this a great customer for you. He's usually a great customer for all vendors. I said, I want to see if we can team up and serve Larry even better. He said, that's fantastic. He goes, you know what? I've been meaning to call you because I knew that someone was installing the computers. When you put the cable into the desk, you're putting it into where the electrical conduit is. It's the wrong spot. So when we expand the desks, the network is dropping. If you simply put it in the data conduit, we won't have these problems anymore. So that day forward, we started to install the cable actually in the right spot. And guess who was thrilled? Larry. Whenever the trading desk was modified, changed, expanded, the computer system ran perfectly. And we were thrilled. We never had problems. And the trading desk guy was thrilled. About, 5-6 weeks after this first introduction and changing the way we were serving Larry by teaming up with this vendor, he called me, the trading desk guy, said, I have a question for you. We're working with another company. It's just like Larry's company. It's an exact clone, in fact, of Larry's company. They don't like their current computer company, and they asked if we know someone. They said, would you be interested? And I paused for a second. Now, I don't know where you're sitting, if you can see my beard, but it's right here. It's my evil thinking beard. I am stroking it right now. And he says, would you like another clone of your best client? And I'm like, yes, I would. And I got another client that way. In fact, I got, I think, 12 or 15 hedge funds within a year using this strategy. I also worked with Goldman Sachs, a clearing house, got 75 hedge funds that way. My little company is called Olmec, OLMEC.com. You can check them out today. Was acquired by private equity and became the #1 provider in the US for hedge fund services. It grew explosively. It's a massive business in its niche because of the vendor well. Ask your best clients what other vendors they depend on and team up with them. There's an endless stream of opportunity there. And I'll tell you this, I can guarantee your competitors are not pursuing this opportunity. Guarantee it. But you are. 2 more things I want to share. Last step in the let's make sure we answer our homework here. So I think I answered number 9. Asking for referrals in the traditional sense is rarely effective because it offends your clients and dilutes your attention. So referrals offends and dilutes. If I skip number 8, 8 was prospects will trust you more the more frequently you are in front of them, right? That was the Freddy Krueger. You must find where your best customers and prospects congregate and appear there. And then number 10 is if you ask your top clients for referrals to the other vendors, you will focus on your best clients and serve them better. Last step in the pumpkin plan is this. And it was actually interesting. As I was looking at ordinary farmers, I noticed that they don't prune often. In fact, remember, ordinary farmers are in the quantity game. The more that grows, the better. So they go over these massive fields and they just kind of try to keep on feeding it and everything grows as fast as possible. Colossal pumpkin farmers, on the other hand, do this process. They don't call it pruning. The lords of the gourds prefer to call it killing. But they will go to a field and they will remove the small pumpkins because they know that as a colossal pumpkin's growing, if another pumpkin's on the vine, it's taking nutrients, energy, it's a distraction. And they don't go to that little pumpkin and say, oh, this is so awkward for both of us. Here's this. I will give you a 4-week severance package. We'll move you to a new pumpkin patch. No, they say, you're gone, you're gone, you're gone. They defend and protect the colossal pumpkin. And if you read the final book about Steve Jobs, his final interview, it was fascinating. The interviewer said, Steve, what do you attribute your success to? And he responded and said, it's interesting. Now, just measure this. Steve Jobs grew Apple twice. He grew Pixar to $1 billion movie company, and he grew Next Computers as a failure at $100 million. I'll take that failure. How do you do this repeatedly? He said, if there's one thing I have to attribute it to, it's been my discipline of saying no. He says, I've said no to some of the greatest opportunities in the world. You grow by saying no. Yet ordinary entrepreneurs say yes all the time, and we don't call them little pumpkins, we call them opportunities. Oh, I could do this. Yes, we could expand into that. Oh, a new product line. Oh my gosh, all these things. All the nutrients and energy and time is spread out. We must protect the one thing. As I was watching Colossal Pumpkin Farmers, I noticed something interesting. It doesn't always work. This strategy, if you do it in your business, is not guaranteed to work. Sometimes, Colossal Pumpkin Farmer, the pumpkin grows so quickly it splits under its own weight and dies. Other times, and it gets crazy, competitive pumpkin farmers will take shotguns and go through your field and pop shot your pumpkins. Yeah, now you're like, I don't know if I want to be a Lord of the Gourd. That's not fun anymore. But what was interesting is every time a colossal pumpkin farmer failed to grow a colossal pumpkin, they didn't say, oh, the formula doesn't work. Oh, the process is wrong. They simply say, I guess this wasn't my season. I'll get it next season. And they go back and they do the exact same process. This process I told you, it does work. It's the formula for growth. I just can't guarantee your season. So you have to have the stick-to-itness. Yes, the economy shifts and competitors will arrive and products will change. But if you stick with the process, it's only a matter of time before it catches on, you have that explosive growth. The other thing is, some people say, but Mike, it's a great analogy, but pumpkin farmers, there's no money in that. It kind of loses its weight there. Actually, even in pumpkin farming, there's colossal pumpkin farmers. Colossal entrepreneurs. There is an entrepreneur named Howard Dill who, for years, went to every winning colossal pumpkin, negotiated the seeds, bought the seeds of the winning pumpkin, and made his own hybrid called the Howard Dill Atlantic Giants, and now sells the best of the best for over $500 a seed, which means if you take an ounce of gold or an ounce of his pumpkin seeds are worth about 50 times more than gold. So there's an opportunity there. I want to share one final story before we wrap up. My business coach, I worked with him until recently. His name is Frank Michalowicz. He talks like the Godfather. And he's become quite elderly. I actually still see him. I had breakfast with him, but he's really not coaching anymore. I worked with him for 20 years. I was one of the 30 entrepreneurs he helped coach. He actually grew a company called Konica, if you've heard that. He took Konica from Japan, moved to the US, made a $100 million business. Very successful from the entrepreneur's revenue definition. And so I meet with Frank, and he's with his wife, who had become very ill, so we were meeting at his house. Well, it was one particular day, a few years ago, I knock on the door for our meeting. It's like 9:30 in the morning. I say, hey, Frank, I'm here to see you. He opens the door. He's like, okay. He goes, I have someone here, a caregiver, to watch for Olivia. So why don't we get outside? And in fact, why don't we grab lunch? And I'm like, it's 9:30 in the morning. He's like, I've got an early bird special for Fuddruckers. Which I don't know if there's any point to that besides that even rich old guys like early bird specials. So we go to Fuddruckers. This is not my steering wheel. This is the hamburger I ate. And I start eating my 9:30 in the morning hamburger, and I asked Frank a question that I'd never asked him in 20 years. I said, Frank, the very first day we met, you said, you don't want to be that guy. And you shared this whole story with this and that. I said, why would you do that? And Frank started laughing, like an old man laugh, where laughing starts going to choking, you know. He's like, oh yeah, I tell everyone that. That's funny. Yeah. And then he said, I tell every entrepreneur that. I always start with that story. And he goes, the reason is where we are today is familiar, and it's super, super comfortable. Where we need to go is to something that's unfamiliar. And even though it's better, it's this leap of faith that is terrifying. So we stay where we are. So he said, the only way I found I can motivate entrepreneurs to make the leap is to make them terrified of their current path. In fact, that's my final thought for you. Where you stay in your business today, if you're loving it, if it's growing the way you want, and if you're thrilled, don't change it. You have figured it out. If you're not happy, not comfortable, it's probably because you're stuck in something that's very comfortable. So think about your own rusty lawn story. If you continue on this path, where will you end up? And maybe that will scare you just enough to take a leap of faith to the new, albeit less comfortable, but guaranteed process for growth. Now, this is the answer to number 11, is comfort is in what's familiar, prevents every business from achieving colossal growth. I know I spoke very quickly, but all the answers are also at the bottom of the piece of paper. So, surprise! Like I shared, the pumpkin plan, this process to colossal growth is a process that works. I've done it myself. I've now done it with thousands of clients. I can't guarantee the season. I just guarantee if you stick with it, there will be a day that you experience colossal growth too. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Mike, thank you. So we'll be back. And is this not the perfect topic for this business? I mean, so many people need this topic, right? We'll be back in 15 minutes sharp, okay? Take a quick break and we'll be right back.